Welcome back to Cal Shakes 2010. We're here tonight to talk a bit about Pastures of Heaven, which is, with the exception of Ivanhoe in 1983, the first new play that we've done, and we chose this book to adapt and found a wonderful playwright, Octavio Solis, to adapt it for us. And then we've been engaging communities in Salinas, where the play is based, and also with our school partners in the East Bay to teach about Steinbeck, to learn about the land, and understand the context in which this play was written, and include some voices in the making of the piece. Most specifically, a group of young artists from the Alisal Center for the Arts in East Salinas called Hijos del Sol, and they created a 40-foot mural that is going to be on display at the theater, which reflects their interpretation of the stories of the Pastures of Heaven. Who knows the book?
Right.
That's why we're doing it. It was, I think, his second book. He was 30 years old when he wrote it. He wrote it in 1932, and it's a book of short stories that are interconnected. It's about a farming community in Salinas. It actually is an existing area called the Corral del Thieriot.
I think this is sort of funny myself, that Steinbeck kind of adapted someone's idea to do this. He had a writer friend in 1931, a woman friend who wanted to write about the area that she grew up in, which was this Corral del Thieriot, and she wanted to make it a short story cycle like Winesburg, Ohio. And he was working on another book at the time and kind of had writer's block and listened to her idea and thought, well, that's a smashing idea. And so he just did it. He took her idea and made his own sort of short story cycle out of it. You didn't know that, did you?
Octavio has been a writer that I've always wanted to work with. And he's been in the room every day of rehearsal, and he's got this extraordinary musical vocabulary. In fact, he writes very musically. And he just comes up, he just starts playing from his what do you call that, laptop, just underscoring in moments, and they're perfect. Pieces that accompany these stories. So he's a fantastic living writer, and I mean not just that he's alive, which of course for us is quite exciting. Seriously, and it's sort of like there's only so far I can go to screw up the play because there's a writer there saying no. Shakespeare's usually just spinning in his grave.
That you guys workshopped this and how you did that?
Yeah, sure. They invited our company to Cal Shakes to meet their company, and everyone was invited to bring a book, and we, being short story, you know, we don't go over 17 pages, and they brought Anna Karenina. They did. And they really, really, really tried to convince us, and all 9 of us are going, I started on, I think, chose Tularecito's story. And so what we did was we word for worded it. We did it, we broke it out in our style, which is word for word. You use all the text. We were invited to each choose a character from that and present the life story of that character, and I believe I gave the musical life of Miss Martin. And other people gave mime sequences, and other people gave whole text sequences. So we were trying, we were tossing out theater ideas. And then from there were 2 other workshops that different stories were explored, and you could see what was developing was this incredibly original idea, I think, of giving you so many different styles of theater, back to back to back to back. And as I've said to my mother-in-law who's out here, they're like beads on a necklace, you know. And John is creating these beautiful beads that string one after the next and make a whole, but all different.
Because people play a lot of characters, and sometimes they just turn around and they just take a hat and they go, and they become another character. Sometimes it's full changes, sometimes it happens. It's a real celebration of storytelling, and each of the 8 stories is told in a very particular kind of way. Some of them slightly different from each other, and some of them dramatically different from each other. And then some of them are like these Gothic stories that are told almost direct address, and some of them are enacted completely out. Some of them which the ensemble plays weeds and gnomes under the earth. I mean, how many characters do you play?
I play 4 that have names, and then the ensemble means maybe 8 more. You know, this like more than any other play I've been in. I am on stage from the beginning to the very end, and It's going to be like a big piece of music, like a big symphony. In that, you know, for once you get a 1 second rest, you get a caesura, and then you're back on as the next guy.
Richard's you know, he builds his characters one step at a time, and you can't do this. You're on for like 3 lines, and you have to be doctor, you know, and so you have to go like to doctor immediately.
It's driving me crazy.
Yeah. It's like a pop-up book. You have to see every picture come alive, emotionally, psychologically, physically, at every turn.
I have a question for Richard.
Yes.
Are you a member of the Actors Union?
I am.
Are you being paid for every role?
That's a good question.
What's the going rate for playing grass?
Not enough.
Playing grass.
Weeds make more than grass.
Okay.
Annie Smart, who's done a lot of sets with us, she did, last year she did Private Lives, she did Ideal Husband with me, she did Man and Superman, and has worked a lot at Berkeley Rep. When she read the play, she really felt, she said, you know, this really isn't about the literal hills. It's about home. It's about trying to find a home. And people place their dreams, their real intent dreams on actualizing their fantasies about who they want to be in this idyllic landscape. And they see this idyllic landscape and decide to make their home there. But because they're fooled by the idyllic landscape. They think the idyllic landscape is going to actually manifest their dreams, when in fact land is land. And fantasies do not live past a certain point. And that's the story that you hear in different ways, sad ways, funny ways, musical comedy ways, a lot of different ways. So she thought, what if I created a hillside of a home? And that's what she did. So essentially what you have here is a 3-story home. But all the rooms are of different nature. And what's interesting about it is because I had originally, because it's so imaginative, the play, and it travels to so many places, my first instinct, you know, spatially was chairs and ladders and nothing. And she came in with the exact opposite. She came in with a hyper-specific world that has staircases going up and down. And she said, just treat them like the characters. When the characters tell the story, they transform from Richard Whiteside to another character just by putting on a hat. So we put a different thing of flowers, and this nice thing of flowers is that characters. So the play, the rooms change characters as often and as quickly as the humans do. It's all over the map, and it's a fantastic display of what the widest vocabulary I think that theater could possibly have in its capacity to tell stories.